Alrighty guys, so installing this blacked out stuff, that was fun, but it's something I don't consider to be really modifying your bike. I mean, all I did was just, I call this dressing it up. It looks really good and it turned out really well. Now, it does take a little bit of skill to swap this stuff out and do it correctly. So I'm not discouraging anybody who's done this, but to me personally, I don't call this modifying your bike. In the video today, we are going to be modifying this bike, and the way we're going to do that is I'm going to be putting on Power Commander's quick shifter, and I'm also going to be installing a Power Commander 5 on this bike because in the next video, we have a dyno tune set up for this thing. So I have to get that Power Commander installed, and then at the same time, I'm going to be wiring up the quick shifter. So let's get started. Alrighty, so this is the assortment of things that I'm going to be installing. Like I said, a quick shifter, and basically all this is a shifter that allows me to stay full throttle when I'm making shifts. So it should help out tremendously at the racetrack. It should be one less thing I have to think about in rolling off the throttle and rolling back on the throttle between gears. So installing a quick shifter, this is a linear shifter switch, so it only works in the shifting up direction. So it's only a one-way switch, and I don't really care about it working down shifts, but yeah. So that's the quick shifter we're going to be installing, and I'm also going to be installing the Power Commander PC5. And while I'm in there, I'm just going to put a fresh set of spark plugs because Kawasaki recommends you replace the spark plugs at 7,500 miles, and this is at about 7,300 miles. So I figure fresh set of plugs, especially since we're getting it dyno tuned, you know, a little added security. Like I said, I don't know the condition of the plugs, so I'm just going to put a fresh set of spark plugs in it. Oh, one other thing. I'm also installing a Sprint filter. Now this is just the P08. It's not the P08 F1-85. It's not the super duper race filter because really didn't see a need to spend an extra $180 on an air filter. I don't plan on going crazy racing. Plus, in my eyes, the only real way you're going to get power from an air filter is if you're bolting that air filter onto a turbocharger and force inducting the power into your engine. I think this air filter will do everything I need it to do. I'm not in the hunt for those 1 or 2 extra little horsepowers. You know, this one will be just fine. I didn't get it for the performance option either. I got it because literally I can take an air hose and I can clean this air filter out. I am lazy. That sounded very convenient for me. I don't have to oil it. I don't have to wash it off with water. I just have to take compressed air and blast it out when it gets dirty. So, also putting an air filter in there. So, now we can get started. Alrighty, so I had to pause for a second with about halfway through taking this thing apart. Set this down a second. So I have to say something about Kawasaki, and other manufacturers out there need to check in with Kawasaki, because to replace an air filter on this ZX14, a bike with, you know, in the neighborhood of 200 horsepower, you would think this air filter would be bolted down, tight, sealed to the maximum, and it isn't. It's so simple, guys. One cover that goes in front of the gas tank, 2 bolts. 2 bolts. Take this plate off, air filter, just like a cabin air filter on your car. Slots in. Might need a little bit more help than just my fingers. I'll grab some pliers here. But you simply just take and you slide the air filter out like this. And you take your new air filter and you slide it in like this. And it is as simple as that. Why can't other manufacturers do this? So easy. And my air filter is replaced. I replaced the air filter while holding the camera. Just make sure your arrow's going up. And boom. Just like that. Air filter installed. Now, I'm going to pause and take a second here with the air filter here. Now guys, when it comes to air filters, there are a lot of options out there. You know, you got K&N, BMC, you could get stock replacements, high flow, you know, you can get OEM. Apparently Kawasaki claims that these are actually really good flowing air filters from the factory. Like I said, I don't know if they are or aren't, but they claim that these are super high flow filters from the factory, so you can go with the stock original. I went with this Sprint filter, and the beauty of this filter is, unlike this paper element or your more common BMC or K&N where they're using a cotton fiber filter, this is actually made using polyester, so it's a man-made substance. And with a man-made substance, you get better consistency. So they show a comparison of this filter versus a cotton filter, and the fibers are consistently wound on something that is man-made versus cotton, where you've got gaps and holes in the cotton, and a lot of times it's why they have you oil the filter so that the oil itself captures the dirt. Problem is that oil can also restrict airflow, because you know, I've seen it where people just over oil the heck out of their filters, and it ends up just making it flow worse than, say, a stock air filter would. Now with a paper air filter, these work great, but they do restrict flow. This one was pretty dirty, so it needed replaced anyway. But with a paper air filter, OEM, you can't really clean these out, so once and done. You take that, you buy another one and throw it in. With this, I call this the lazy man's filter, because all I have to do is take compressed air, blow this out when it gets dirty, and since it is a polyester, it's going to be strong enough to handle me blowing this out with an air gun. You cannot take a K&N filter and blow it out with an air gun. They strongly recommend you do not do that, because you can actually separate the fibers in there, and it can actually hurt your engine if you blow those out with an air gun. These you can. I like the sound of that, so that's why I went with this. And if you look through, I mean, it's pretty straight through there, compared to that of the stock filter, which you can not see any light at all through there. Partially because it was dirty, but also because it is a paper filter, and they do a very good job of blocking dirt. They also restrict airflow. So the claims are that even though this is very see-through, you are still able to get the much needed protection between this mesh screen and that single layer of polyester fiber. Apparently it blocks enough of the dirt out so I don't have to worry about that. But that's what I went with, and yeah, you can just see the difference of that screen versus, you know, that guy there. So it should flow a lot better. Alrighty, so all the plastics have been removed that I need to remove. I did take the coils out, so I am going to be, again, like I said, replacing the spark plugs. They are nice and tucked away in there, and you know, took a bit to get to them, but whatever. So I got to get to the spark plugs, you know, just noticing things. When I was taking this apart, there were quite a few broken plastic panels on here, so the previous owner was definitely in here with the plastics off, and they broke a bunch of the plastic parts on the panel, so a little upsetting for me, but whatever. So I have access to the plug I need for the power commander, and I'm also going to be drilling out the shifter as well as this cover here for the quick shift kit. So the good news is, at least from what I could tell, these coils have never been out before, which seems like an ongoing trend with this thing. Is if somebody else touched it, they either broke it or didn't put it back together the way it should have been. Not saying that the person before was incompetent, I'm just saying the way the trend has been going with this bike, seems like if it was touched by the prior owner, something got broken or misplaced, and thankfully the ignition coils have not been touched. So I'm just going to go through the spark plug replacement. I'm just going to do that now. It's pretty straightforward. Take the old plugs out, put the new plugs in, pop the coil packs on. I was going to put an ignition control module in this, but at the time I ordered all the other parts, they were completely sold out, at least through my distributor, Parts Unlimited. They were sold out of all their warehouses, so it would have been forever, I assumed, to get the parts, because didn't want to risk it and just wanted to get this thing done. The dyno tune was all set up already, so I didn't get the ignition control module. It might be something I get later on, but we'll see how this does on the dyno. Alrighty, so we have a little bit of an update here. Again, I didn't really show you guys how I did all this, because if you look in here, it's very tight quarters and just routing stuff, especially like spark plugs, stuff like that. It was difficult to really show you what I was doing in there, but I got the power commander on right here. I just have to finally mount it, and it's just loosely on there. Wires are run, plugged in. Just got to clean all this stuff up. And the main reason I got the power commander is because of this quick shifter here, and it's already got the tune in the ECU. So the ECU's already been tuned, and you know, all the stuff's been eliminated. The butterflies are a lot quicker to open, and the RPMs have been stretched out past the 11,000 RPM red line. Speed limiter's been removed. All that's, you know, done through the ECU, but I get a little bit of tunability for the injectors. That way I can get this thing running at its tip top. You know, the exhaust that's on it, that air filter I just put in it, all that stuff's going to have to be dialed in so that it's set up for this bike. And I can't run this quick shifter without having that hooked up. Now this bike doesn't have any shift linkage. The shifter's hooked directly to the shift shaft on the engine. So I had to get the, what they call it, the linear switch here, and this just works in one direction. So in the video they just have it installed right there onto the shifter itself, and then up top there onto the sprocket cover they just have a bolt with a spacer. And in the video I can tell that right about there is where it needs to be installed, so I'm going to get busy installing it. Alrighty guys, so we are all done. I got the quick shifter installed. Seems to be working all right. I had the power commander software up now. I had to actually turn it on in the power commander, and I'm going to give it a trial run now, so we'll see if it's working and get some cool sounds coming from the quick shifter. Now what the quick shifter does is it just momentarily cuts off the fuel, so it's not going to give cool little pops because it's not taking away the ignition, it's just cutting out the fuel. So there'll just be a lapse where the fuel gets cut off as I'm making that shift. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to try it out, see if it's working, and then I haven't done a lot of recording on this, guys, because honestly I got to get this thing ready to go to the dyno, and that's tomorrow. So I had to hurry up and get all this stuff on, routed, ready, and still a bunch of work. I'm running out of daylight, so it's taking a lot longer than I thought it would, but I gave myself enough time to get it done. I just didn't have enough time to take you through the process of what all I did. There's a ton of information on these quick shifter installs, so really I wasn't going to do a how to install video because I was actually online looking up how to install it. I mean, DynoJet themselves have an excellent video on a ZX14, so it's only a couple minutes long, and it's straight, direct, right to the point, and it was just a quick, easy install with that video. So yeah, we're gonna start it up so you guys can hear it. All right guys, so definitely something cool. That sounds awesome with that quick shifter. Now there's going to be some minor adjustments here and there that I have to make. Hopefully I'm able to make them on the dyno, so that way it's squared away and I get it all set up, so all I got to do is just ride away. But I mean, it's not difficult to do. You can change the parameters of the quick shifter, how quickly it cuts out the injectors and how quickly it turns them back on, so you go by milliseconds. But it's some stuff I have to learn. Hopefully at the dyno they can explain it a little better. If not, I'll just do some research and I'll look and I'll figure it out myself. But got that stuff done. I have to get the bike back together, guys, so we're gonna cut it off here. Thank you so much for watching the video, guys. If you liked the video, as always, drop a thumbs up there, leave any comments you feel like below, and we'll see you in the next video, guys. Thanks for checking it out. I'm Matt, this is Motorworks.